The screech of tires ripped through the night like a scream I couldn't unhear, metal twisting into a symphony of chaos on the rain-slicked interstate outside Chicago. My Jeep flipped once, twice, the world inverting in a blur of headlights and shattering glass. And when it finally skidded to a halt against the guardrail, I tasted blood and the sharp tang of regret. Why had I driven so fast after that fight with Dad? Blood pooled warm on my dashboard, my left arm pinned at an unnatural angle. And as sirens wailed closer, the last coherent thought flickering through my haze was her face. Mom's, twisted in that same disappointment she'd worn since I came out last Christmas, whispering, "Liam, we can't do this anymore." I woke to the sterile beep of monitors in Northwestern Memorial, my body a map of bruises and breaks. But the real fracture was in the empty chair beside my bed. No family, no cards, just a nurse with kind eyes charting my vitals. "You're lucky to be alive, kid," she said, her voice like gravel wrapped in sympathy. Days blurred into a fog of morphine and physio. My phone silent except for one voicemail from my sister. "Dad says don't come home. You're not our son anymore." It hit like the crash all over again. Rejection sharper than any bone snap, leaving me adrift in a sea of white walls, wondering if survival was just another curse. Discharge day came too soon, papers signed with a trembling hand, and the social worker's pitying glance as she handed me a list of shelters. "Family issues?" she probed gently. I nodded, throat tight, the weight of my duffel bag, clothes stained with crash grit, a photo of us all from better days, pulling at my good shoulder. Stepping into the November chill of downtown, wind whipping off Lake Michigan, I felt invisible, a ghost in my own life at 24. That's when he appeared, not with fanfare but a quiet offer from the shadows of the hospital entrance. A man in faded scrubs, dark hair tousled like he'd just rolled out of a 12-hour shift, extending a styrofoam coffee cup. "You look like you could use this. And maybe a couch." His name was Brian, and he wasn't supposed to be there, night shift ER nurse. Off duty but lingering like he sensed strays. "Saw you in rounds," he explained as we walked to his beat-up Honda, the city lights smearing yellow on wet pavement. Heard the social worker. "No one's going through that alone on my watch." I wanted to argue, to snap that I wasn't charity, but exhaustion won, and I slid into the passenger seat, the heat blasting away the cold that had settled in my bones. His apartment was a third-floor walk-up in Wicker Park. All exposed brick and mismatched furniture scavenged from thrift shops, smelling of coffee grounds and something herbal lavender, maybe, from the diffuser humming on the windowsill. "Crash here till you're steady," he said, tossing me a spare key like it was nothing. "Bathrooms down the hall. I'll make eggs." That first night, I lay on the lumpy futon staring at water stains on the ceiling, arm throbbing under fresh bandages, replaying the voicemail like a loop of barbed wire. Brian knocked softly before dawn, handing me a mug of tea chamomile, strong brew, and sat cross-legged on the floor, not prying but present, his green eyes steady in the lamplight. "Accidents happen for a reason," he murmured, voice low like he was sharing a secret. "Sometimes they clear the path." I laughed bitterly, the sound cracking in my chest. Path to what? Being disowned. He didn't flinch, just leaned back against the futon, his knee brushing mine accidentally or not. "To finding people who see you. Really see you." Days stretched into a tentative routine, Brian's shifts pulling him away to the ER's frenzy while I navigated crutches and job hunts from his creaky laptop. He'd return with takeout, deep dish from Lou Malnati's, ribs sticky with sauce, and we'd eat on the fire escape. City hum below us like a distant heartbeat. He was 30, a decade my senior in years but worlds in weariness. Tattoos peeking from his sleeves. A phoenix on one forearm. Faded script on the other reading Rise Again. Stories trickled out over late-night beers. His from rural Wisconsin. Outed in high school. Family that pretended he didn't exist until he left for nursing school on scholarships and grit. Hospitals are equalizers, he said one evening, nursing a bruise from a combative patient. Everyone's broken in there. Makes you good at fixing. I started fixing too. Small ways. Stocking his fridge with groceries from the corner market. Folding laundry while he slept off doubles. Liam Harper, pre-crash, had been adrift, bartending in Lincoln Park, chasing flings that fizzled like cheap fireworks, hiding my queerness from Dad's Bible study glare. Post-accident, with nothing left to lose, I let the walls crack. One rainy afternoon, thunder rumbling like an old grudge, I caught Brian watching me as I struggled with a shirt button, my cast making me clumsy. Here, he said, stepping close, fingers deft on the fabric, his breath warm against my collarbone. Our eyes locked, and in that charged silence, I leaned in, not thinking, just needing, and kissed him. Soft at first, tentative, then deepening as his hand cupped my jaw. Calluses rough from 4 lines but touch gentle as rain. He pulled back, I searching mine, a flicker of something raw, fear, hope. Liam, you're healing. I don't want to complicate, but I silenced him with another kiss, fiercer, pouring out the loneliness I'd carried like shrapnel. We tumbled to the couch in a tangle of limbs and whispered confessions. His body solid and warm against mine, scars mapping stories I ached to learn. That night marked the shift, from stranger's mercy to something electric, fragile as new bone. Winter deepened, snow blanketing the city in hush, and our rhythms synced like breaths in sleep. Mornings, I'd wake to his note on the fridge, pancakes in pan, don't burn 'em. Evenings, he'd come home to me sketching logos for freelance graphic gigs. My arms stronger, portfolio rebuilding from the ashes. We talked dreams over vinyl spins, Springsteen crooning about highways, fitting our scarred souls, and made love slow, exploratory, his fingers tracing my crash tattoos, the jagged scar on my hip like a lightning bolt. Beautiful, he'd murmur, voice husky, making me believe it. Brian opened up too, vulnerabilities spilling like wine. His ex, Marcus, a fellow nurse who'd cheated with a doctor, left him shattered 2 years back. Trust a casualty. Thought I'd never let anyone in again, he admitted one night, head on my chest, heartbeat sinking under my palm. Then you crashed into my life, but cracks spiderwebbed beneath the warmth. My family haunted the edges. A letter from Mom arriving like a ghost, postmarked from our old Evanston address. Words typed formal. We're praying for you. But boundaries must be set. I crumpled it, but the ache lingered, festering. Brian noticed, pulling me close after, but his own shadows loomed, late shifts turning him distant, phone buzzing with texts he silenced quick. Just work, he'd say, but I'd catch the strain in his smile, the way he'd pace the kitchen at 2 a.m., nursing a Scotch neat. Spring teased with crocuses pushing through concrete, and I landed a remote design contract, small firm in Milwaukee, steady pay to chip at Brian's couch guilt. We celebrated with a drive to Lake Michigan, dunes golden under April sun, spreading a blanket for a picnic of cheese curds and craft IPAs. Their toes in sand. He proposed we make it official. Move in for real. No more futon exile. Laughter bubbled up, joy sharp as it was new, and I said yes with a kiss that tasted of salt and promise. That weekend, we cleared space in his closet for my clothes, hung my crash photo, not of the wreck, but a Polaroid he'd snapped of me grinning post-physio, arm raised triumphant. Yet the past clawed back. One humid May evening, rain lashing windows like accusations. My phone rang, Dad's number, blocked but spoofed through. Liam, your mother's sick. Cancer. Come home. The words hollowed me, a gut punch landing years late. Brian found me on the fire escape, soaked and shaking, and held me through the sobs, his shirt damp with my tears. Go, he urged, voice steady. Family's messy, but blood's blood. I drove back to Evanston the next day. House unchanged. Colonial clapboard. Cross-stitched prayers on walls. Mom frail in bed. Dad's eyes averted. Sister hovering awkward. Forgiveness dangled like bait. Change, son. For her. But it reeked of conditional love. The same that had cast me out. I stayed 2 days, holding Mom's hand, whispering love she couldn't return whole, then left with a hug from my sister and silence from him. Returning to Brian's, our apartment felt like surfacing for air, his arms wrapping me at the door. No questions, just presence. You're enough, he whispered, leading me to bed where we reclaimed each other fierce and slow, bodies a bulwark against the world's cruelty. Summer bloomed hot and heady, our love ripening. Weekend hikes in the Indiana dunes, hands clasped on trails. Lazy Sundays with mimosas and Marvel marathons, his laughter rumbling against my side. I designed a tattoo for him. A compass rose intertwined with my lightning scar, and he inked it at a Pilsen shop. Needles buzz a vow etched permanent. But betrayal brews in complacency's shade. It started with a forgotten phone on the charger. Marcus's name lighting the screen. Miss you. Drinks. Brian dismissed it. Old habit. Platonic now, but doubt seated. Watered by my insecurities. Then came the shifts. Him pulling extras at the hospital. Coming home hollow-eyed. Scent of antiseptic mingled with something floral not his. Patient's family, he'd mutter, but the lies layered thin. One August night, storm raging outside mirroring the one inside. I followed a hunch, his car parked not at work but a dive bar in Logan Square. Through rain-streaked windows, I saw them, Brian and Marcus, heads bent close over shots. Marcus's hand lingering too long on his arm. Laughter intimate as lovers. Heart fracturing like crash glass. I confronted him at dawn. He's jangling accusation. How long? He crumbled. Confession spilling. Marcus back in town. Just talking. But loneliness had cracked him open. One drink turning to more, a kiss. Nothing physical. He swore. But the emotional bleed cut deepest. I was scared, Liam. Of this being too good. Of losing you like I lost him. Betrayal's sting was venom. Not the act but the echo of my family's rejection. Unworthy. Always. I stormed out, crashing at a buddy's couch. Days blurring in rage and rum. Voicemails from Brian pleading. I messed up. You're my everything. Climax crashed in a hospital call. Brian, in the ER. Not as nurse but patient. A bar fight spillover. Marcus's jealous ex swinging wild. Bottle shattering on his temple. I raced through ER doors, heart slamming, finding him stitched and groggy, green eyes lighting at my face. You came. No words sufficed. I gripped his hand, the phoenix tattoo vivid under fluorescence. And in that sterile limbo, forgiveness flickered, not easy, but human, forged in fire. Marcus slunk away, exposed, and Brian chose therapy sessions twice weekly, boundaries redrawn like scar tissue stronger. Fall leaves turned the city crimson, a palette of renewal, and we rebuilt deliberate, couples counseling in a cozy Andersonville office, where we unpacked Rex, mine literal, his metaphorical. I forgave not with amnesia but acceptance, love a choice renewed daily. Mom passed in October, a quiet Quaker service where Dad's handshake lingered, eyes wet with unsaid sorries. My sister and I vowed monthly coffees, bridges mending slow. Brian stood sentinel, his presence my anchor, and at the graveside, under gray skies, he squeezed my hand. We're the family now. Winter circled back, but softer, our first holiday as us. Tree trimmed with crash survivor ornaments, turkey brined to perfection. On New Year's, fire escape vigil, champagne flutes clinking, he dropped to one knee, not ring, but promise. Marry me? Not today, but when we're ready. Tears blurred the fireworks blooming over the skyline, and I pulled him up, kissing him deep, the city our witness. Everything had changed, not in the accident's shatter, but in the mending, where rejection birthed belonging, and a strange nurse became my home. In the end, it's not the falls that define us, but the hands that lift scarred, steady, unyielding. Brian and I, woven from wreckage, stepped into dawn's light, not unbroken but whole, loving fierce against the odds. And in America's vast, forgiving heart, that story enough. As summer's humidity clung like a second skin, our days wove tighter, threads of routine binding us against the unraveling world. I'd wake to the sizzle of bacon in Brian's cast-iron skillet, sunlight slanting through half-drawn blinds, casting stripes across his bare back as he hummed off-key to NPR's Morning Edition. Fuel for the artist, he'd tease, sliding a plate my way, eggs over easy, just how I liked, yolk runny like unspoken affections. My freelance gigs had picked up steam, logos for indie bands and coffee roasters, pixels my canvas for rebuilding. Brian's shifts varied, sometimes graveyard pulls leaving him ghost pale at noon, other times early birds letting us steal mornings for slow coffee and slower touches, his fingers mapping my ribs like braille secrets. We explored the city like new lovers do, uncharted territories unfolding, bike rides along the lakefront trail, wind whipping our laughter, stopping at Oak Street Beach for gelato that dripped sticky on knuckles. One sticky July afternoon, sweat slick and breathless, we collapsed on a towel, bodies close under the relentless sun. Tell me something true, I challenged, sand gritting between toes, his head pillowed on my thigh. He thought, green eyes squinting against glare. I believe in second chances. Third, even. Life's too short for grudges. His words landed soft but weighted, a mirror to my own teetering forgiveness, and I traced the new compass tattoo on his wrist, needle fresh and bold. Then here's to ours. Evenings often found us at the hideout, a dive with sticky floors and stages sticky with history, where bluegrass twanged and craft beers flowed amber. Brian loved the anonymity, elbow to elbow with locals nursing heartaches, his knee pressed to mine under scarred tables. We'd dance when the mood struck. Awkward shuffles more than spins. My cast long gone but rhythm rusty. His hand firm on my waist, guiding like in the ER, steady through chaos. "You're a natural," he'd lie, grinning that lopsided smile that crinkled his eyes. And I'd pull him closer, the crowd a blur, just us in the haze of cigarette ghosts and fiddle cries. But intimacy deepened beyond bodies, delving into the marrow of souls. One muggy night, power out from a freak storm, we lit candles on the coffee table, beeswax stubs from a farmer's market hall, and played Truth or Truth. No dares to dodge the dark. Worst memory? I started, shadows dancing on brick walls. Brian's face tightened, flame-lit. Coming out to my folks. Dad handed me a bus ticket to Chicago. Said, "Don't come back fixed or forgiven." Mom just cried. His voice cracked on the last, and I reached across, thumb brushing his knuckles. "Mine's the crash call," sister's voice, cold as the line went dead. Vulnerability hung thick as humidity, but in sharing, it lightened, burdens halved. We made love by flicker then, urgent and unhurried, whispers weaving promises into skin. My family loomed like thunderheads on the horizon, sporadic lightning strikes of contact. A text from my sister, "Ellie, Mom asks about you." Dad still. "Dad." I stare at the screen, thumb hovering, Brian's advice echoing. Respond with grace, not grenades. So I did short notes, weather reports laced with love. No demands. Chafed, this one-way bridge, but Brian's patience was poultice. Evenings where he'd read aloud from his dog-eared copy of The Alchemist. Voice rumbling like distant waves, pulling me from resentment's undertow. Yet his shadows lengthened too. Marcus's texts persisted. Innocuous at first, "How's the new gig?" But Brian's jaw would clench, deleting with force. "Ancient history," he'd insist, but I'd catch him scrolling old photos late. Face illuminated blue, a ghost haunting his glow. One weekend, we escaped to Door County, Wisconsin, his home turf, cherry orchards blushing red under August skies. We kayaked Green Bay's shallows, paddles dipping syncopated, laughter echoing off bluffs. At a roadside stand, pie warm in our hands, flaky crust flaking like old skins, he confessed, "This place used to choke me. Now, with you, it's breath." We hiked Peninsula State Park, summit views sprawling lake and land, and there, wind-tousled and alive, he kissed me fierce, salt on lips from sweat and sea. "You're my north." Liam, back in the city, Labor Day loomed, barbecues scenting air with charcoal dreams. We hosted a small cookout on the roof, neighbors from the building, Ellie's tentative visit bridging suburbs to us. She arrived wary, sundress crisp, but softened over brats and beans, Brian's charm disarming. "Tell me about that time Liam tried skateboarding." Stories flowed, laughter loosening knots, and as dusk painted the skyline pink, she hugged me tight. "He's good for you. We miss you. I miss you." Dad's absence ached, a hollow in the circle, but it was progress, a toehold on healing. September brought crisp edges, leaves turning gold like alchemical promise. My portfolio swelled, a pitch landing with a queer-owned apparel line, designs bold with rainbows subtle woven. Brian surprised me with a desk in the spare room, IKEA hack polished with his hands, drawers stocked with sketchpads. "Claim your space," he said, arms around me from behind, chin on shoulder. That night, we christened it slow, Pencils scattered like stars. His body arching under mine. Gasps mingling with graphite smudges. But autumn's rot set in subtle. Brian's shifts intensified. Flu season's siege on the ER. Cots overflowing with coughs and fevers. He'd stumble in at dawn. Scrubs rumpled. Eyes ringed purple. Collapsing into sleep while I traced his brow. Worry a quiet thief. One October Eve. Rain relentless as regret. He didn't return till midnight. Cologne faint but foreign on his collar. Marcus's. I knew without asking, though he swore it coincidence. A consult overlap. Doubt bloomed toxic. Petals of paranoia. Late dinners alone. Texts unanswered. The bed cold on his side. Trust me, he'd plead, but trust phrase easy when echoes of abandonment ring. Halloween approached. Pumpkins grinning jack-o'-lantern hollows on stoops. We carved ours on the fire escape. Knives slipping in chilled fingers. Seeds sticky sweet. Scariest thing? Brian quipped, gutting a gourd. Losing this? I replied, half jest. But his laugh faltered. Candle flicker catching guilt. That night, costumed as mismatched superheroes, me Captain America earnest, him Deadpool snarky, we hit a Boys Town bash, bodies pulsing to base, but his eyes scanned distant, hand loose in mine. At home, undressing in moonlight, I pressed, "What's eating you?" He deflected with a kiss, but it tasted of evasion, sour undersweet. November's chill bit deeper, Thanksgiving a minefield. Ellie invited us to her place, neutral ground, turkey thawing in her tiny kitchen. Dad declined. Work. But Mom's absence loomed larger, her illness a specter. We arrived arms full, pie from Brian's secret recipe, cranberry relish tart. Conversation danced polite. Ellie's new job, my designs, Brian's tales of ER absurdities, a guy with a gerbil in his. Well, you know. Laughter bridged gaps. But under table, my knee nudged his, seeking anchor, finding tension. Driving home, fog thick as unspoken. I shattered. Is it him? Marcus. Brian's grip whitened on wheel. It's nothing. Swear. But lies layer, and mine cracked first. The confrontation brewed slow, erupting mid-December, snow blanketing sins white. I'd found the bar receipt in his jacket, Logan Square, date stamped 2 nights back. Talk, I demanded, coat dripping melt on floorboards. He deflated, words tumbling, 1 drink. Closure. He apologized for everything, but eyes betrayed, the kiss implied in averted gaze. Rage roared, fists clenched on scars. I'm not your placeholder, I yelled, storming to the bedroom, door slamming echo. He followed, pleading through wood. You're my future, Liam. Past's just noise, but noise drowns truth. And I packed a bag, heart hammering escape. Couch surfing at Ellie's, days dissolved in numb routine, coffee black as mood, sketches jagged. Brian's texts piled, come home. Please, ignored till the call. His voice strained over line. Fight. Not mine, but head wound. Come. I went, tires chewing slush to hospital, dread coiling gut. There, under harsh lights, stitched temple bandaged. He looked small, vulnerable. My nurse, Feld. Marcus's ex, he explained, wincing. Jealousy spillover. I ended it for good. In that moment, monitors beeping our fragile sync, I saw not betrayal but brokenness, mirrors to my own. Hand in his, foredripped, I whispered, "We fix this." Together, rebuilding began tentative as first steps postcast. Each brick laid with care lest it topple. We started with space. Me back in the apartment but on the futon, boundaries drawn like chalk lines in a ring. Brian dove into therapy, sessions slotted post-shift, emerging quieter but clearer. Notebooks scribbled with affirmations. Honesty is oxygen. Couples counseling followed. A cozy office off Belmont with the therapist. Dr. Reyes, a no-nonsense Latina with eyes like spotlights. Betrayals a wound, she'd say, voice steady as metronome. But scars tell stories of survival. We'd sit knee to knee on worn leather, unpacking my abandonment triggers from family, his fear of abandonment from Marcus's ghost. It hurt, lancing boils, but air followed, fresh and freeing. Holidays healed in increments. Christmas Eve, we strung lights slow, Brian on stool handing me hooks, apologies woven in pauses. I was scared of how much I need you. I nodded, throat tight, clipping a bulb that sparked memory, our first fire escape meal. Strangers then. Gifts exchanged simple. For him, a leather journal etched with our compass. For me, a silver chain with phoenix pendant, warm from his palm. We cooked, roast chicken lacquered sweet, sides from scratch and toasted with eggnog spiked gentle. Toasts to us, unbroken. Midnight mass at a queer-affirming church nearby. Candles held high. Hymns lifting like prayers answered sideways. New Year dawned crisp. Resolutions whispered over black-eyed peas and champagne hangover. Brian quit the extras, reclaiming nights for us. Walks in Lincoln Park. Breath-fogging air. Hands gloved but linked. What's one fear? He'd prompt. Leaves crunching underfoot. Failing you, I'd admit, and he'd stop, pull me close under bare oaks. You're succeeding. Every day, spring unfurled tentative, tulips nodding approval, and with it, trust's tender shoots. My designs caught eye, a campaign for a trans youth nonprofit. Billboards bowled across buses, and launch party buzzed with pride. Brian at my side in button-down crisp, toasting to Liam, visionary, yet conflicts lingered, not Marcus's shadow but deeper fissures. My family rift widened when Dad reached out, email stiff. Ellie says you're stable. Church retreat, repent, reconcile. Rage simmered. Brian's comma counter. Go if you want closure, but set terms. I declined. Words typed furious then deleted, choosing peace over poison. Ellie mediated. Coffee's turning confessional. He's trying, in his way. Stubborn as you. Laughter bridged. Sibling bond resilient. Brian's past surfaced too. A family reunion invite from Wisconsin. Aunts and uncles probing, still single. He agonized, pacing kitchen tile. They know, sorta. But seeing me happy with a man, I encouraged. Show them your truth. We drove north. Orchards blooming white, tension thick as pie crust. The farmstead unchanged. Red barn, fields rolling green. Aunts enveloped in hugs, questions veiled barbs. Nursing suits you, dear. Any ladies? Brian's hand found mine under table, squeezed defiant. Actually, this is Liam. My partner. Silence stretched. Then Aunt Clara's toast. To love, however it grows. Not full acceptance. But crack in ice progress. Wisconsin warm. Summer cycled back. Hotter. Headier. We vacation cheap Amtrak to New York. Wandering village streets hand in hand. Stonewall's ghosts whispering courage. Broadway matinee. Rent pulsing relevant. Tears shared in dark. Back home. Routine rooted deeper, joint gym sessions. Weights clanging resolve. Cooking classes for Thai. Basil-scented fails turn triumphs. Intimacy reignited gradual, kisses lingering longer. Touches exploratory. Bodies relearning trusts terrain. One steamy night. Windows open to cricket chorus. He traced my scars. These make you, us. Love-making unfolded like dawn. Slow reveal. Climaxes quiet earthquakes. But climax brewed in autumn's amber. Conflict cresting unexpected. October. My big break. National ad agency offer. Remote but collaborative Milwaukee base. Weekly travels. Excitement surged. But Brian paled over dinner news. Milwaukee? That's close to home. His home. Wounds raw from reunion. It's opportunity. I pressed. Fork paused mid-bite. For us too, better apartment. Stability. But fear flickered his eyes. Distance changes things. What if? Echoes of Marcus. Abandonment's anthem. Arguments escalated. Words weapons. You think I'll stray like him? I'd snap. I think life's unpredictable, he'd retort. Nights cooled. Beds separate. Silence heavier than storms. The breaking point hit mid-November. Gray skies mirroring moods. Agency deadline loomed. Mock-ups frenzied on laptop. Brian's shift canceled for headache. I found him on couch. Phone in lap. Text to a coworker. Flirtatious edge. Miss our talks. Coffee soon. Not affair. But emotional lean. Therapy's gains teetering. Again. I whispered. Bag dropping thud. He startled. Color draining. Innocent. Stress talking. But trust. Once cracked. Leaks easy. I left. Walking Michigan Avenue's lights blur. Cold seeping soul deep. Ellie's couch again. Sobs racking. Why can't it stick? Dawn brought his arrival. Rain soaked at her door. Eyes red-rimmed. I quit therapy? No. Doubled it. This job, take it. I'll commute. Whatever. Just don't go. Vulnerability raw. Walls pulverized. Dr. Reyes mediated next session. Tears collective. Fears the foe. Not each other. We recommitted, his phone open. My travels plan joint. December thawed. Hanukkah lights mingling Christmas glow. Forgiveness festive. Winter waned. Resolutions renewed. Agency gig secured. First trip to Milwaukee seamless, Brian tagging. Hotel nights tangled joyous. Spring bloomed buoyant. Cherry blossoms confetti. We adopted a rescue mutt. Jasper. Tail-wagging chaos. Forcing routines joyful. Summer plans. Road trip southwest. Canyons carving perspectives vast. Yet humanistic heart pulsed beneath. Volunteering at a youth center. Mentoring queer kids post-coming out. Stories mirroring ours. One teen. Alex. Eyes wide at my scar. Rejected too? I nodded. Brian adding. Found family instead. His hand on mine. Their awe legacy. Climaxes echo faded. Replaced by crescendo quiet. Love's daily grace. Anniversaries marked. Not crash date. But take-in night. Dinner recreating eggs. Toasts to strangers no more. As leaves turned pyre gold, the real storm gathered, not weather's whim but life's capricious gale. Mom's decline accelerated. Scans grim as November fog. Stage 4. Treatments taxing. Ellie's call pierced a design brainstorm. Hospice. She wants you. Brian canceled shift. Drove me east. His Accord eating miles while I stared at blurring billboards. Grief a passenger uninvited. Evanston loomed. House sagging under weight. Mom's room a sanctuary of monitors and morphine. She looked small, chemo-bald and brave, hand frail in mine. Liam. My boy, she breathed, eyes lucid pools. Forgive? For love's sake. Tears tracked. Dad in doorway shadow. Bible clutched like shield. I do, I whispered, meaning it not erasure, but release. Night's blurred vigil. Brian sentinel in guest room. Fetching tea. Holding me when sobs shook. Dad thawed incremental. Coffee shared awkward. Proud of your art, grunted over mugs. Not apology full, but olive branch crooked. Ellie and I tag-teamed. Stories swapping to fill silences. Childhood Christmases. Sledding fails. Brian charmed. Helping with meals. His calm a buoy. Mom passed dawnlit. Hand in mine. Last words love wins. Echo to our anthem. Funeral Quaker plain. Benches creaking mourners. Dad's eulogy cracking on flaws and all. Reception post. Casseroles congealing. He pulled me aside. I was wrong. Scared. But your family. Hug brief. Bone crush. But real humanity's messy mend. Ellie vowed visits. Brian included. Threads reknitting. Back in Chicago. December's dark lifted slow. Holidays hybrid. Menorah beside tree. Lax with ham. Jasper gnawing bones. Agency travels ramped. Me pitching in Milwaukee. Brian joining weekends. Hotels becoming havens. One snowy trip. Drifts blanketing Lake Michigan's shore. We walked pier. Wind howling hymns. Marry me? He asked again. Ring simple silver this time. Knelt on planked ice. Yes, gasped. Pulling him up. Kiss ceiling against flurry. Winter gripped. But warmth within therapy tapering. Trust tensile strong. Spring equinox. We wed small city hall. Witnesses Ellie and a neighbor. Rings exchanged under cherry petals. Reception fire escape. Takeout spread. Toasts raucous. To crashes that lead home, Brian quipped. Ice shining. Summer solstice. Road trip manifest. Route 66 echoes. Canyons carving awe. Grand Canyon rim. Sunset bleeding red. We stood shoulder to shoulder. Hands clasped. Everything changed here, I said. Not place but us. He nodded. For better. Yet betrayal's ghost lingered faint. Marcus surfaced email apology formal. Happiness suits you. Deleted joint. Laugh shared. Conflicts cropped minor. Jasper's chewed shoes. Travel lags. But aired quick. Resolved quicker. Fall harvest. Agency promotion, senior designer. Salary search. We upgraded. 2-bedroom in Ukrainian village. Space for studio. Office. Moving day chaos. Boxes labeled love. Brian's playlist blasting Springsteen. Humanistic core deepened. Center volunteering evolved. Co-leading group for outcast youth. Alex thrived. Coming out to folks supportive. Crediting us. You showed possible, he said. Hug fierce. Climax's true crest. Brian's diagnosis scare, routine check. Lump flagged. Biopsy wait eternal. Nights entwined anxious. Clear benign. Cyst mundane. Relief crashed. Love reaffirmed. We're bulletproof, he joked. But eyes wet grateful. Resolution ripened. Anniversaries layered. Love vintage rich. America's sprawl our canvas. Thanksgivings with Ellie. Dad's tentative invites accepted. Table full flawed. In quiet moments. Fire escape vigils. City pulse below. Brian's head on shoulder. Grateful for the accident. Me too rejections forge. Nurse's mercy. Everything changed to this whole. Human. Home. Years layered like city strata. Our story etching deeper into the urban grain. 5 post-wedding. Agency evolved to consultancy. Me helming queer-inclusive brands. Billboards beaming pride coast to coast. Brian climbed ranks. ER charge nurse. Mentoring new blood. His Phoenix ink talisman. Jasper grade at muzzle. Still bounding chaotic. Our furry chaos anchor. Family mended mosaic. Dad's visits sporadic but sincere. Fishing trips to Chano lakes. Rods casting lines of talk. His regrets voiced halting. My forgiveness fluid now. Ellie married. We best man and witness. Her kids calling us Uncle B and L. Tiny hands and hours at park picnics. Challenges came. As lives do. Brian's burnout flare. Shifts soul-sucking post-pandemic surge. Him collapsing home one eve. Sobs muffled in pillow. Can't save everyone, he confessed. I held. Therapy rebooted. Sabbatical planned. Bermuda Beach. Waves washing weariness. Snorkels revealing reefs resilient. My own dip. Client backlash. Design deemed too bold. Rainbow riot offending conservative execs. Doubt drowned. But Brian's rally. Your voice matters. Speak louder. Pitch revised. One campaign viral. Headlines hailing authentic revolution. Betrayals? Echoes only old friend ghosting post coming out. But we leaned communal. Circle widening. Couples nights with center alums. Potlucks pulsing stories. Humanism bloomed outward. Nonprofit launch. Crash to kin. Support for queer rejects scholarships. Housing pods. Modeled on our start. Inaugural gala. Tuxes sharp. Brian's speech cracking. From hospital hall to hearth. Love rebuilds. Donations flowed. Lives touched, letters thanking. You gave hope. 10th anniversary. Vow renewal lakeside. Dusk gilding water. Ellie officiating. Jasper ring-bearer floppy-eared. Vows updated. Through Rex and Men's. I choose you. Rings resized. Kisses sealed sunset. Legacy unfolded. Adopting Milo. Toddler from foster fray. His giggles filling halls. Parenting tandem. Diapers dawn. Bedtime tales of nurse who saved boy. Brian's lullabies gravel gentle. My sketches his gallery walls. Aging graced us. Lines etching laugh crows. Hair silvering salt pepper. Dad's decline. Parkinson's slow thief. Us caregiving reciprocal wheelchair hikes. Stories swapped even. His passing peaceful. Hand in ours. Love you, son. Both sons. Ellie's brood grew. Holidays raucous. Turkey debates. Pie fights. Center thrived. Alex directing now. Full circle. In twilight years. Porch swings creak. Wait. No. Fire escape upgraded to deck. Cityscape eternal. Brian's hand in mine. Jasper's successor snoozing pause. Everything changed. He muses. Stars pricking velvet. For us. Yes, for us. America's dream, not fireworks grand, but quiet burn. Two men. Scars shared. Love's light steady. Human. Whole. Forever changed.